Have you ever stopped to consider what truly unfolds after a long marriage comes to an end? Not the polished explanations people offer over coffee. Not the smiling photos and hopeful captions shared online. Not the carefully rehearsed narratives about liberation and fresh starts. What I'm talking about is the side rarely spoken aloud. The quiet, unsettling aftermath that slowly takes shape when a shared life dissolves. Divorce is not just paperwork or a public declaration. It is a profound psychological rupture. It alters habits, identity, and the way the world is experienced. And here's what few people ever explain. It has little to do with blame. It has nothing to do with victory or defeat. What follows is the silent psychological fallout that reshapes lives in ways most never anticipate. Tonight, we pull back the curtain. Not to judge, not to gossip, but to understand the hidden dynamics, the emotional shifts, and the internal transformations that occur when someone steps out of a long-term marriage. Because when the life you believed was permanent suddenly disappears, what remains is far more complex than anyone admits. You're sitting alone in your apartment. The low buzz of the refrigerator and the distant sound of passing cars are the only interruptions to the silence. Your phone lights up, emails, notifications, messages, but none of them penetrate the quiet that seems to stretch longer with each passing night. The living room that once felt warm now feels oversized, hollow, as though it's holding echoes of a life that no longer exists. You scroll through social media without thinking, and then you see her, smiling, confident, radiant. Every photo, every caption about growth and new beginnings suggests she's untouched by the separation, as if the ending never left a mark. But you know better. You know that behind those filtered moments lies uncertainty, unanswered questions, and nights that feel just as long as yours. Your daily rhythm has shifted. Mornings feel slightly off. Coffee tastes unfamiliar. The predictable cadence of life has been disrupted. Even the smallest details, a favorite mug, an empty side of the bed, the absence of a familiar laugh, serve as reminders that the world you once knew is gone. And in that heavy stillness, a realization emerges. Your life isn't over. You're still here, still functioning, still processing. But what matters right now is that someone understands the invisible weight of being the one left behind. Because while the world applauds her happiness, you live the truth, the slow, quiet reconstruction of a life, one day at a time. From the outside, it's easy to assume she's flourishing. New friends, trips she never took before, endless smiles. It all creates the illusion of effortless joy. But appearances are rarely the full reality. What looks like happiness doesn't always reflect inner stability. Much of what the world sees is carefully curated. When someone exits a long-term marriage, they're not just leaving a partner. They're leaving an entire framework that once structured their existence. Daily habits, shared routines, even self-perception were shaped by that life. Wake-up times, weekends, decisions, everything was intertwined. And at first, the freedom feels exhilarating. The ability to choose everything independently feels empowering. It feels like control. But freedom without structure is also destabilizing. The routines that once provided grounding disappear. The invisible guideposts that shaped days and decisions vanish almost instantly. This isn't weakness. It's human psychology. Identity is built around patterns and familiarity. When those patterns collapse, the mind experiences drift. Dependence on structure isn't a flaw. It's how humans manage complexity. And suddenly, what felt like liberation begins to feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. So while she may appear confident and unshaken, the reality beneath the surface is far more complicated. That outward strength conceals a quiet internal adjustment. And for you, watching from a distance, this matters. Her happiness may not be what it seems. Because sometimes what looks like freedom is simply the mind learning to stay afloat without support, and the descent is slow, silent, and deeply disorienting. The first phase begins subtly, almost unnoticed. Yet it's the stage where everything feels possible. She wakes each morning with a renewed sense of purpose, as though leaving unlocked a version of herself she believed was lost. Days fill quickly with new routines, fitness classes, social outings, spontaneous plans that feel adventurous. Even redecorating a room or rearranging furniture carries a thrill. Validation pours in. Friends, family, even acquaintances reinforce her choices. Compliments become constant. Encouragement feels endless. The attention creates a powerful emotional high. In that environment, it's easy to believe she's finally discovered her authentic self. Each new experience reinforces the story she's telling herself, that she's independent, confident, and unquestionably right. But beneath the excitement, confusion quietly forms. Attention feels like value, yet they are not the same. Novelty, compliments, and stimulation are intoxicating, but temporary. Excitement gets mistaken for growth. Change gets mistaken for transformation. The mind craves affirmation, and during this stage, it's receiving it from everywhere, just not from places that last. Overconfidence often marks this phase. New hobbies, new style, new boundaries pushed. Her social circle amplifies the belief that she has reinvented herself. She's living inside a narrative she's authoring, and early on, it feels flawless. But this phase never endures. Empowerment built on novelty and validation has no foundation. And quietly, cracks begin to form. The second phase emerges without announcement. The honeymoon fades. The excitement meets reality. Dates that once felt thrilling become predictable. Conversations repeat. Compliments lose sincerity. The energy that once seemed endless starts to drain under repetition. Patterns become visible. The people she meets share similar shortcomings. What once felt like variety begins to feel shallow. Modern dating delivers attention quickly, but it disappears just as fast. Validation becomes something to chase rather than something to trust. Comparison slips in quietly, not consciously, but emotionally. Memories of familiarity surface. Emotional consistency begins to feel valuable. Novelty can't replace the comfort of being deeply known. Each disappointment reinforces the realization that excitement alone cannot sustain connection. Outward confidence remains. Internally, doubt flickers. Brief moments, unanswered messages, disappointing encounters, plant quiet questions. This phase lacks drama, but it's pivotal. The narrative she built starts colliding with reality. Disillusionment seeps in slowly. Then comes the third phase. The weight of quiet returns. Loneliness is no longer subtle. It presses in. Nights feel endless. The effort required to appear confident becomes exhausting. Social interaction feels performative. The image of thriving becomes difficult to maintain. Some respond by staying endlessly busy. Work, dates, distractions. Others retreat inward, replaying memories, scrolling through old photos, sitting in silence. Thoughts grow louder at night. Sleep fragments. Questions linger without answers. This isn't empowerment. It's coping. As this phase deepens, the mind begins defending itself. Self-preservation activates. Memory subtly reshapes itself. Past moments soften. Stability becomes clearer in hindsight. It's not deception, it's survival. Regret threatens identity, so the story adjusts. Responsibility shifts outward. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance, the mind resolving conflict by altering interpretation, not reality. Then comes the final phase. Reality settles in. Loneliness becomes unavoidable. Distractions fail. Support fades. Practical pressures mount. Independence reveals its cost. Every decision carries weight. Comfort becomes scarce. Human touch becomes rare. This isn't punishment. It's consequence. And while she navigates this quiet reckoning, he rebuilds silently. No announcements. No performances. Just structure. Routine. Discipline. Growth rooted in consistency. Confidence rebuilt from alignment, not validation. Where she copes, he stabilizes. Where novelty collapses, purpose deepens. Eventually, clarity arrives. Some losses cannot be undone. Shared identity doesn't regenerate. Emotional safety cannot be replaced. Regret settles quietly, not explosively, but permanently. There is no villain, no winner, no dramatic ending. Only reality asserting itself. Life does not punish or reward intention. It reflects action, and that reflection arrives whether we're ready or not. This story isn't about her losing or him winning. It's about illusion dissolving, and reality patiently reclaiming its place.